Here we go.
You are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Fouché Way radio show, live every Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m., sponsored by my nonprofit organization called Canine Hope for Improvement Program, where we hope to improve the quality of our dogs' lives by moving towards a no-kill society. The number here is 818-602-4929. Before I get started today with our two callers, I want to say the DVD of the seminar is ready, and we're deciding the best way to distribute it, like downloading it the best way or the internet. But until then, you can just go to the website, www.brandonfouché.com, go to the Contact Me section and request one, and we'll get one out to you. Along with our two callers today, we have our legal expert, dog attorney, Marla Talger, with us, and we're going to be talking to her a little later on in the show today. And with that being said, I want to go to our first caller, which is Jefferson. Jefferson has a dog named Marcus, and we want to talk about the problems that he's been going through. Jefferson, how are you today?
I'm here.
You know, I'm so happy to talk to you, Jefferson, because every time a person comes in with a German Shepherd, it reminds me of the time when I was mauled, and I can totally see the misunderstanding in the dog's body posture, their mind, everything. I like to think I have a special connection, not just with all dogs, but especially with German Shepherds because of that bite. And also, you know, it was so interesting when the dog was brought to me, it was your wife, Eve, that brought him, and I was so happy to see you when you walked in the door because you're the other part of the equation. And with that being said, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about Marcus, where you got him from and what you've been going through?
Well, Marcus came to us because I saw an ad that somebody had tacked up at the gym. And, you know, he looked like a nice dog. The ad said that he was friendly and loving and just needed a lot of exercise. And he's a 3-year-old male. And we have a big backyard, and we have another German Shepherd. Mm-hmm. And we had talked about getting a second German Shepherd quite a while ago. And then there was this homeless German Shepherd. You know, it was just staring me in the face every day. So I took the ad and called and set up a time to go meet him. And when we went out to meet Marcus, we brought our other German Shepherd with us. And we figured that we'd always been told that if the dog that you already have more or less ignores the other dog and they don't get in a fight and they're going to be compatible and letting the new dog adapt to the surroundings where the other dog has already been, you know, would be easygoing. Mm-hmm. And so we took both dogs. We went for a walk. They walked side by side, no problem. Marcus is super loving in the house. He jumps all over us. He licks us. At one point, Eve said to me, maybe we shouldn't name him Marcus. Maybe we should call him Prince Charming because every time she goes to lay down on the couch, he comes by and licks her face.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So anyway, we decided, okay, we got the dog, you know, we'll get some training, mm-hmm. and off we go. So we started with some training, and the first thing that happened when we went to a group class is that Marcus started getting angry. Mm-hmm. And we weren't sure exactly where this was coming from because at home he really would like to play with Cleopatra, mm-hmm. and she continues to ignore him, but he would like to play with her. Mm-hmm. And, he's loving, he's jumping, he's doing everything that a dog is supposed to do. Right. Or so we thought. So we had trouble walking him around the neighborhood because we were trying to get him familiar. He was pulling. And my wife is only about 95 pounds. Mm-hmm. And when we got Marcus, he was about 75 pounds. He has since gained about 15 pounds.
Yes.
So he's about 90 pounds. He's at his full weight
He's
now.
A big boy.
He was abused. He was underfed. He had been chained up for 8 months without an owner. And the only food and water he got is when somebody would throw it over the fence because he was completely abandoned. And the rescue people finally came one night and they cut him loose and took him to a rescue shelter.
Great.
And so, we thought, well, maybe some of this angriness is because he was chained up so much. But we're walking him in the neighborhood and up and down, trying to get him familiar. And we started to encounter some dogs, and he would just go berserk. He would flare up onto his hind legs. He was pulling like he could pull a dog sled all by himself. Mm-hmm. And so that's when we said, we got to get into some training. He needs to be socialized.
Did he pull your wife, dog? He knocked your wife down, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Multiple times, actually. She had sprained her hand, and he dragged her across the driveway because he's so strong and she's so tiny, it just doesn't work.
Right.
So all the care in terms of walking him and training him became my responsibility because she can't control him. Mm-hmm. He is almost stronger than I am.
Yes.
And so we, started asking some people who had Dobermans and Rottweilers because they tend to be kind of aggressive, or people perceive them to be aggressive dogs. So we asked the friends of ours, who did they use for training, and we found this guy, and it wasn't too far from the house, and we enrolled in a once-a-week training, and there Marcus met a bunch of other aggressive dogs, and we were trying to get him to walk on his leash. We were trying to get him to, smell the dog, not jump and bark and bite and show teeth at another dog. And that trainer gave us a water bottle to spray him so that when he got out of control, to try to bring him back in so he would pay attention to what I was trying to do with him. The water bottle didn't work. Then they gave us a bottle of bitter apple. So when he was barking at the other dogs, and when I say barking, he is really barking 100%. If I didn't keep him pulled away, he probably would bite the dog. So we were spraying bitter apple in his mouth. He didn't care about that. That didn't do anything.
Mouthwash.
Didn't do a thing. He would lick his lips and
mouthwash. Yeah.
And they said, well, let's try some noise, see if that'll work. So we had what we call the penny can. Mm-hmm. It's like a metal salt shaker that's filled with pennies, and every time he would go nuts, we'd shake the can to get his attention. So try to bring him back under control so that he would listen. That didn't do anything.
Yeah, typical training things, right?
Yeah, and then we tried the trainer said, get a head collar, which is one of those collars that fits around his neck and snout, and so when you pull it, his snout would be pulled away from, his focus would be changed. Mm-hmm. And so we tried that, and we were walking him with that, as well as a choke chain, the old-fashioned choke chains. Mm-hmm. We had them linked together so that if the head collar broke, we still had him under control.
Right.
We had also purchased a body harness, so we thought maybe that would help Eve control him. Mm-hmm. That didn't do any good. We bought a muzzle for him. That didn't do any good. We could barely get it on him, let alone he would sit there with his paw constantly trying to take the thing off.
Right.
And there were a couple times, more than one time, where I said to Eve, I'm not so sure I want to go through this. I'm ready to give the dog back to and just say, this is hopeless. Because the other German Shepherd is fairly passive, a good guard dog, barks when people come up to the house, which is why we like and wanted a German Shepherd. Once the people are let in, she's quiet and calm. When people come into the backyard, she goes nuts and she starts barking until one of us tells her that it's okay.
Right.
And then she relaxes.
Right.
And we thought that, with Cleopatra, she needed some training. She needed some help, and we needed to learn how to train, and we did it what I'll call the traditional way.
Right.
And she got it. It didn't take long, and she's, the good dog.
Right.
And we thought that she would help Marcus along because he would copy what she did. He doesn't. He does his own thing. And a couple times he's escaped from the house. Cleopatra doesn't go anywhere when the front door is open. She just sits by the front door. Or if she does go outside, she just sits on the driveway. But when the front door was open, Marcus would just bolt out the door and start running up the street. And I think Eve told you the one incident that I had where I was in some flip-flops, and Marcus was running down the street, and I'm running after him in flip-flops, which of course, this isn't gonna. This was a joke. He is so strong, and I'm barely running in flip-flops.
Right.
And a driver saw me chasing him and trying to catch him, and I'm calling him, and Marcus thought it was a game.
Right.
It's a game of chase, right? And see if you can catch me, ha ha.
And
the driver pulled over and was just laughing at me and said, "Get in." And together we went and we finally cornered him, and I got him and got him back home.
Right.
And it's like I wasn't ready for this when we talked about adopting another dog. We said, well, we'll do some basic training. He'll come around just like Cleopatra did.
Right.
And it'll be fine, right? Cleopatra will have a mate. She's a lot older than he is, but she'll have a mate. She'll have some companionship. They'll go play in the backyard, and that'll be that. And boy, were we wrong. And there was one day where I was walking him, and he had all his harness. I mean, the dog looks like he's in bondage, you're like we're S&M people. He's got the head collar on, he's got the body leash on. For a while, we had the head collar with the muzzle on him. He's got a choke chain on. Sometimes I've got two leashes on him.
Wow.
Because he pulls so much. And I came back one day, and we had met a couple dogs on the walk, and he just went berserk. Brandon, it looked like if I wasn't holding him back, that he would have tore into these dogs and just picked them up like a sock monkey,
right.
And just back and forth until the dogs would have been dead.
Yeah. That's
how aggressive he gets when he sees other dogs. And it's not my personality, and this isn't what we wanted.
Exactly.
Like, I'm coming back on, this dog is too much for us. I think we bit off more than we can chew. And the gal who we got the dog from, whose name is Diana, and she mostly rescues small little chihuahuas and so forth. And she called up one day and she said that, she wanted to come visit. And that was fine. We have a good relationship with her. And she wanted to bring the lady who had originally found Marcus and was actually the instigator in rescuing him. And we all sat down, and here's Marcus. He's as playful as could be. And literally the next day, Marcus escaped, and a lady, it's actually my next-door neighbor, she's a Chihuahua gal, and she has 2 or 3 Chihuahuas and a Shepherd mix, and she was walking her Chihuahuas, and actually her roommate was walking the dogs, and Marcus got out and bit one.
Wow.
And I just said to Eve, I don't know what to do, and we got to find another solution, because clearly group training isn't the way to go, because it didn't do anything, other than cost us lots of money to buy all these apparatus, apparati that they said. And Diana said, I think I know somebody. Call Brandon. So Eve called, and Eve came down, and you saw how lovable Marcus really is.
Yeah, he's a good dog, And
so that's kind of a whole story, in a nutshell.
And that's good. You told it well.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, when you came back, when she came back to get Marcus, and you came with her. I was so happy that, the other part of the equation came in, but you had this look on your face, and I think you even said it. Why am I here? I'm trying to figure out why I'm here. And I knew then, I said, oh boy, this is the reason why we have to have both people in the family come, because we get 2 sides to every story.
Right.
And so you felt like, what the heck am I doing here? I've already decided I'm ready to give up this dog. And I let you tell me part of the story, and then I said I want you to take a look at some video. Tell our listeners how you felt.
Well, it's true. I was ready to give up the dog, although we are attached, so this would be painful for us as well as for the dog, because who knows where the dog is going to go. And Cleopatra was also a rescue, and we've been big supporters of the German Shepherd rescue out in Burbank. And so, but it's like, what are we going to do with him? Is this going to be a dog that is always going to be in the backyard, and he's never going to get to go out for a walk? Because we help us please help us if he's going to meet another dog on, and even pass by the other dog. So I wasn't able. I would have come actually in the morning when Eve came down to drop off the dog. I couldn't make it, but I wanted to hear what you had to say. I wanted to see the video that you had told her you were going to take, and so I came. And you showed me the video of Marcus playing with other dogs, and my jaw just dropped to the ground, because I had come to the conclusion that this would never happen, that he'd never be able to, essentially just play with a dog, or have another dog in his space other than Cleopatra, who he lives with.
And this is very interesting. There are a lot of people who are going through what you're going through. And I want to say this, I can't say this enough. Having a dog is just like being in a relationship. If you can't give that other person what they need, it doesn't matter how much you give them in terms of what they want. They need certain things. And our dogs are the same way. So in this relationship that you have with Marcus, Marcus has things that he needs, but you have been trying to give him what you think he wants based on what society and other people have said that this is the formula for dogs. And so because it's not what he needs, what you're seeing is the frustration that comes out of not getting what you need. And so when he came to me, I was able to see that, and I was able to give him what he needed. And what he needed was to be with other dogs, to express the highs and lows so that he can learn to balance himself out. That is a special formula that you have to be able to produce. You have to have special dogs. You have to know when to bring them out and when to play different dogs for different parts of the evaluation to socialize them. And that's what he needed. So when you saw those videos, I mean, if you look at his face in those videos, you truly see happiness.
oh, his tail is just wagging all over the place.
Right.
And, you know, he's doing the dog thing, the sniffing the butt thing, and you know, marking territory. But, you know, he went up to every single dog and, you know, essentially said hello.
Right. And that's this is what this show is about. This is about getting this message out that we're misinterpreting the intentions of our dogs because they're misinterpreting our intentions. And so we get frustration, and this is what frustration leads to, the aggression that you've been experiencing.
Oh, it's just, Brandon, it's just horrible. I mean, when he bit my next-door neighbor's dog, I'm like, what are we going to do, you know,
right,
other than start paying medical bills,
yeah.
You know? It's not what we bargained for.
Exactly. And it's not what he wants. What you saw was the real Marcus
right.
that day. And then
right.
what you were living with is what he had become because
right.
you didn't know how to give him what he needed. This is what's called advanced socialization. And so now the kicker to all of this is when I told you, hey, let's go for a walk and bring some dogs out. What did you think when you did that?
First, again, Marcus pulls.
Right.
You know, when anybody asks me about the new dog, we say, you know, we can't wait to take him to the mountains because this is a dog that's going to be pulling a sled all by himself.
Right.
He is so strong. He is incredibly strong. And when we go for a walk, he just digs his feet in and he just pulls and he wants to lead.
Right.
And so your assistant came out with him on a leash.
Yeah, Leroy.
And Marcus was walking right behind the assistant.
Right.
He's never done that for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been trying to get him to do the heel thing and walk alongside us.
Right.
Which he doesn't really do.
They don't get it.
Yeah. He after months, I mean, we're literally walking him every other day, trying to give him a little bit of training every other day. And the only time he'll walk next to us is when he's exhausted.
Right.
And that first trainer finally said, well, we have to move into, you know, more aggressive means because he's so messed up from being chained up. Mm-hmm. He gave us what we call the pinch collar.
Oh, yeah.
The collar with the spikes in it.
Yes.
So when it is kind of like a choke chain. Mm-hmm. So when you pull on it, the spikes go into his neck and essentially cut off his airway.
Yeah, represents right. Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, and he was showing us how to use it so that we don't suffocate our dog. But he learns that when he pulls, it's going to be painful. Mm-hmm. And that's the only way. We showed up with that collar on him because Eve can walk him with that because the minute he starts pulling, he starts choking off his airway.
Right.
And that's how Eve can manage him. And it makes it a lot easier. I mean, at least we can go for a walk.
Sure. But
we can't do much,
right,
you know, without that collar on. And so you came out, you had a regular choke chain on him. You had like a 10-foot leash. And here's Marcus walking behind your assistant.
Right.
And walking up and down the street. He's not pulling at all.
Yeah. He's just walking right
with him. And
again,
my jaw is on the floor.
And now it's your turn.
Yeah. So.
And now it's your turn. Tell us about how your walk went with him.
Okay, so you showed me what to do with your little chucker toy.
Right.
And Marcus was not pulling at all. Yeah. He walked just like with the assistant. He walked right behind me, and we walked around the block. No problem. No problem at all. He did exactly what we would like him to be doing.
And we brought another dog out.
And you brought another dog out. You brought another German Shepherd out.
Right.
And you said that this was an alpha dog. Marcus is clearly the alpha kind of dog. Mm-hmm. At home, he tries to dominate, but Cleopatra, because she rules the roost, she puts him in his place every now and then. But she kind of lets him dominate
Right.
at times. But you said this other German Shepherd, which was a full-size German Shepherd,
Right.
was an alpha dog, and he walked right by the dog. I think he sniffed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to mark his territory a little bit.
Yeah, that's
But
stress.
there was no aggression, nothing, zero. We walked back and forth, and I walked back and forth
Right.
in front of the dog with him, and there was no aggression.
And what we want to say by this is those people that are out there that have a Marcus, that are at their wits' end, thinking that they can get help, and what's preventing them from getting help is the time. People don't have time. We don't have 4 or 5, 6 months to work on something to get it right. We need something to work instantly. And the purpose for you coming on the show is to let people know that there is another way other than training. It's called advanced socialization. The key to communication in life with people as well as with dogs has to do with socialization. This is what we do. This is what the Fouché Way is about. And I wanted you to tell our listeners, because you are at the edge of giving that dog away. And
Right.
now with one visit, a couple of hours, and with the other things that we're going to be doing with you, you can see that you're going to be able to have the dog that you want.
That's right. I mean, it's clear. I mean,
Yeah.
it would have been foolish to give the dog away,
Yeah.
and sad for the dog because we love them.
Right.
I mean, even with his aggressive behavior, he is so lovable.
And he's a very, very beautiful dog, Marcus. And I will be putting those videos up for anyone who wants to go to YouTube. Go to my BrandonFouché.com and click on the YouTube button and take a look at Marcus.
Yeah,
Jefferson?
I'm hoping that we're gonna come. We're gonna let you work with him a little more.
Absolutely.
And help us learn to work with him so that we do the right thing. And you promised me that I'll be able to take him to the dog park.
Absolutely. So we'll get you
and
there.
I'm going to make you live up to it.
All right.
You
All right,
know?
Jefferson. Thank you so much, and I will be talking to you in the very near future. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it.
Bye-bye.
All right, you guys.
Mhm.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Our next caller is Michelle. Michelle has a beautiful pit bull called Tiberius. Michelle, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I think the same situation here. You brought Tiberius to me, and then your husband and you came to pick him up.
Yes.
But I want to talk about when you first came, you probably thought, this guy is crazy. The things that he's telling me. Tell our listeners what you felt. I could see it in your eyes.
Well, when I first showed up, I couldn't believe how well behaved my dog was.
No, I'm talking about before you came to pick her up, when you first came in. Because you were doing the sit and the stay and all
right,
of that.
so she was acting a little bit better, and she started to walk away from me. I told her to come back and sit, and you just shook your head at me and said, you have so much to learn. I do remember that. But, I came in because she was so aggressive that her life was getting narrower and narrower. We could no longer take her to a friend's house. We couldn't take her to the dog park anymore because her aggression towards other dogs was getting out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me that I need to stop giving her so much affection. And I did think, this guy is telling me that I'm never going to be able to give my dog affection again.
That's what the
I
brain
was
is hearing. That's what the brain is hearing. Yes, go ahead.
And, in talking to you and listening, I realized I'm killing my dog with love.
Mm-hmm.
Her aggression is getting so bad because I didn't realize I was letting her think that she was above me in the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And, to the point where, not that I would ever give her away to a shelter, but you could see where some people would because their dogs become unmanageable. And why did they get there? They got there because you gave them too much love.
Right.
So literally killing my dog with love.
Right.
And that was a hard realization.
And to realize that, it took a few hours of your dog with me, and then you going home, because this is the interesting part. You going home now and implementing the things that I've asked you to do, And what have you realized?
I can give my dog affection as I want when she's behaving appropriately. And she is behaving appropriately. It wasn't, days or months before I saw a difference. I saw a difference immediately. And so I picked her up Friday afternoon. Saturday I spent the day with her. I had a totally different dog on Saturday. It was a totally different interaction. It was calm. It was like I had an epiphany. Like, wait, I can have a completely different relationship with my dog where she can be socialized and and I can enjoy her and give her the attention that I want to give her because I am very affectionate towards her. But she has made, what was it you said, when she's made good decisions.
Right. She has to make a conscious decision to do the right thing. And you have to be the mediator. Right. Exactly.
Because we've been so conditioned throughout our lives that you have to give the dog positive reinforcement. Come here, sit down, good dog. And in listening to you telling me, no, she didn't deserve that. You had to tell her to come here. So, when she chooses to stay by my side and I don't have to tell her that, now you're a good dog.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to tell you not to leave my side.
Exactly. Positive reinforcement, okay, when we've been taught, is to reward a dog for what we told them to do. But the way I look at positive reinforcement is when a dog makes a conscious decision to do something that I didn't tell them to do, but I like what they did, I'm going to reward because they made the decision. So it's easier for them to remember.
Right.
You see? And this thing, just a few hours with Tiberius, with me, you now, because you went through a change.
It's funny. My husband joked around this weekend that he didn't need to send the dog to training with you. He had to send me there, and he's going to stop dropping me. He's going to start dropping me off there every weekend. It was really hard, and I know there are a lot of dog owners out there who think, I am an animal lover. I can't stand the idea that there are animals in shelters, and if I had the capacity to do it, I would go and, adopt all of them. And my feeling was, this dog has been abandoned so many times and left on the streets, and I'm going to make it up to her by giving her more love than she knows what to do, and I'm going to calm her down because I'm going to love her so much. And I didn't realize that I was, encouraging that predatory behavior with our games and with the fact that I wasn't disciplining her properly. And so when I came to pick her up and you showed me the video where she was in the cage, and okay, in retrospect, she was being put in her place by the other dogs, so turnaround is fair play. But she was clearly distressed, right? She was drooling, she was walking around, her ears were down, her tail was down.
Right.
And I started to tear up when you were showing. It was hard for me to see my dog like that. And the idea that I was going to have to take that aggressive approach to get her under control broke my heart. And I didn't know if I could do it. And I know you thought I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and what's interesting in what you just said, that you would have to take that aggressive approach. But we want to tell our listeners, you never saw anything aggressive.
No.
Never.
But
You're just looking at what her body language is showing you. And that's what you're thinking.
It's what your emotions feel, right? You're feeling like, I have to distress my dog.
Yes.
But I didn't. And that's that touchy-feely, want to make the dog happy approach. To your point, it wasn't what she needed.
Right.
Right? Because I gave her that, and what did it do? It made her so aggressive that her world got smaller to the point she can't go to the dog park anymore.
Yeah. You thought that was what she wanted.
I thought it was what she needed, too.
Yeah. But I mean, we're not giving them what they need, but we give them things like toys to play with and balls and frisbees and sticks and ropes, and all of these things is what we think they need. And what's going to make them happy, because it makes us happy because of how we see them interacting with those things. But what we're really seeing is a predatory instinct coming out.
Right.
And so with your particular dog, if you're throwing a ball, what happens when she sees another dog?
when she was in that mode, my husband would throw the ball to her because she loved to run. She loved to chase. He's throwing the ball. Another dog comes. She stops chasing the ball. She started chasing the dog. And more than once, she picked up small dogs in her mouth and was throwing them around like they were stuffed animals, which we also gave her. So we didn't realize that rather than getting that energy out of her, we were stirring it up.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I mean, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, and all of this started to come to fruition when this concept of trying to save all the lives of all dogs, that I felt comfortable enough bringing these things out and talking about them, how we contribute to our dog's aggression. And that's the purpose of this show, to enlighten people of how they contribute to the problem that their dogs have, and then they take themselves out of the equation and point the finger at the dog and say that's a bad dog, which that dog ends up in the shelter and it ends up being killed because of what we have done. And
so when you when I came back and picked up the dog and you showed me how to get her under control so that she was walking behind me and not pulling, I realized, well, I didn't have to hit her. I had to show her I was in charge.
Right.
I had to make her a little uncomfortable, but it wasn't cruel. It wasn't mean.
Right.
And then I went home and, you know, implemented some of the techniques that you were telling and doing the practicing and putting her in situations where she was set up to fail and trying to make her make the right decision.
Sure.
It wasn't cruel. It wasn't aggressive. My dog didn't like it at first. She woke up Saturday morning thinking, what the heck happened here? This isn't my mom. But you know what? We threw all of her toys away, and I realized it was as if she didn't even notice it. And I thought, Brandon's right. We gave her all these toys. We were replacing the dog park and the walks because we had encouraged this aggression in her with the chasing and the stuffed animals with the squeakies that imitated small dogs.
Yeah.
That we were giving her toys to make up for the fact that our behavior narrowed her world till she didn't have any other entertainment. And I threw all the toys away. I woke up Saturday morning and said, that's it. They're gone. I don't even think she noticed.
Exactly.
And I thought, I was like, you know what? She didn't once go over to the basket and sniffed around to see if there were any toys left. She didn't even notice it was empty.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? He's right. We gave her that to assuage our own guilt or to fill her time, when what we should have been doing was to figure out how to get her out there and socialize with other dogs.
Right.
Because
So when you
doesn't need a squeaky toy. She needs she's a pack animal.
Exactly.
She needs dogs.
When I talk about symptoms, that's what I'm talking about. The fact that you had to give her all those things. And then when I talk about looking for the problem, and when you solve and find the problem, then those symptoms go away. You don't need for her to have those things, and she doesn't need to have those things. And so now the rehabilitation can begin. The rehabilitation with the relationship that you and her have can finally begin. And if you don't understand this, if people don't understand this, if they continue to do the things that they're doing because they get enjoyment out of it, or they feel that when they see their dogs acting like predators, that the dog is happy because it's doing what they think the dog should be doing, then we're going to run into problems that are carried us into legal areas that we don't want to be in. And with that, I want to bring in our attorney, Marla Trouser, and I want to give out the number. We'll give it out again, 818-783-7660. That's 818-783-7660. And I want to talk about moral and legal obligations, because if you're not realizing this, we're going to run into problems. Marla?
Yes.
Can you talk about that, the legal aspect?
Oh, yeah. I'm very familiar with some of this behavior. I used to call my dogs walking liabilities, my little liabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something people don't understand oftentimes until it actually happens to them. Michelle, you probably had this, where your neighbors do hold you liable for your dog's behavior.
I kept thinking I was one incident away from losing everything I have.
And that's entirely possible. And that's what happens. Not only that, there's not only that aspect of it, but there's also the aspect of your dog potentially being killed by animal control. And so when you say that, you're loving your dog and doing all these things, and, you sort of love them to death, literally, because if there are, incidents, depending on the jurisdiction in which you live, and if there are such incidents, it's entirely possible that animal control can, have a hearing. Depending on the severity, it may be even a hearing in a courtroom, and determine that your dog is vicious and kill it. And that's not uncommon. And then, on top of that, you can quite easily be stuck with medical bills, either for biting a person or for another dog, depending on what happened. And the severity can, depending on the severity of the incident, it really could potentially take everything you have. Mm-hmm. So I think people need to understand that it's not such, there's not only the issue of getting your dog under control for your own sake and for the dog's sake, but also from a legal point of view, the liability, the exposure can be huge.
Mm-hmm. And, Marla, there are many people, I've been talking and teaching this for quite some time, not as vigorous as I've been so far, but, when I am talking to people about doing things the Fouché way, I'm looking from the legal aspect. I mean, what's going to end up happening? I've been in a courtroom with people who some have lost their dogs, and some have come very close to losing their dogs. And so, we have to really start thinking, okay, look, what am I doing that's wrong? What am I contributing to this situation that's creating this problem? And so when I start telling people about my philosophy and my concept, a lot of people have deaf ears because they're so focused on the positive reinforcement, thinking that they're going to lose something with their dog. And Michelle, you can let them know that you're really not going to lose anything. In fact, you're going to gain.
Well, we definitely gained. I think about, we over the last 2 years, like I said, her world got smaller and smaller. As you know, we adopted another pit bull mix this weekend.
Oh, that's right.
And now that we're able to start expanding her world and socializing her with other dogs.
That's right, because he came to me for the introduction. I forgot about
yes.
it. All right.
And so now, our world can start to expand and her world can start to expand, and we can get them under control and lead a very fulfilling life without all these artificial toys, because, you kept telling us they're animals of the wild. And in the wild, they're not playing with stuffed animals with squeakers.
No, they're eating animals that look like stuffed animals.
Right. So, that's not what they need for enjoyment. It's not what they need for, their own fulfillment.
Yeah, we need
as part of our families.
Yeah, they need the relationship. They need the proper relationship that you, as a leader, as an alpha, if you want, that can provide that for them. If not, you're going to be looking at Marla across the table somewhere.
Oh, Marla, I want you on my side of the table.
Yeah, that's generally, depending on the situation, but that is some of what I do is defense hearings, the administrative hearings.
Mm-hmm. You've seen it all. You've seen how the system works.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, we've come to this, we're in year 2012 now, and I've said this before, we've got all of this technology, and we're still having problems with aggression because the new formula hasn't been put into place. And it wasn't put into place because I believe that the timing was off. People weren't ready to receive something new. But now that we are in this concept of no kill, and dogs are dying at an alarming rate, I think it's time to put this on the table and say, hey, this is a new way of thinking. And that is really what it really is a new way of thinking. It's a new concept. It's how you look at this thing. You must have a clearer understanding of what I'm talking about, like Michelle has found, to be able to do this. Now, it's not easy. I mean, even though the dog comes to me in a couple of hours, we do these magnificent things with them, when they go home with the owner, because you have to disconnect from the way you used to be, it's not that easy. It can be difficult because it is a relationship and you have to change the way you feel emotionally for the better of the dog. Am I right, Michelle?
It absolutely. I was telling you before, and this rolls into the story with my mom. I definitely was raised to be very much the animal lover. And, I left your place when I picked up my dog with my mind whirling with what I needed to do differently and was I going to be able to do it. And you kept telling me if I mentally challenged my dog, I was going to exhaust her more than if I physically let her run. Mm-hmm. Like get her thinking about where am I and what am I supposed to be doing. And I was mentally exhausted. I went to bed at like 9 o'clock Friday night because I was having to work on myself. Yes. At the same time, my dog was mentally exhausted by what I was trying to teach her. And it's not an easy change to change 44 years of behavior. But I saw the difference immediately. So that is where I had the epiphany that, my God, what he's saying is truly a miracle method. Like you have a new dog immediately, but it's exhausting.
Yeah.
The first 2 or 3 days was really hard on me, just in terms of trying to rethink how I interact with my dog.
Mm-hmm. And luckily you have
draining.
Luckily your husband is on board with this.
My husband has never had the issues with her to the extent I have, mm-hmm. but because he's got the same mindset you have, and it didn't click. I wasn't seeing it in him. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't reward her for coming when he calls because mm-hmm. he's angry he had to call her, and she knows. Right. She knows. Her ears are flat when she comes back because my husband's raised his voice to her, and she doesn't like it.
Right.
And he doesn't reward her. He doesn't walk in the door and greet her.
But he loves her.
Of course, and when he sits down, he'll pet her. But it's natural for him mm-hmm. to be alpha dog.
Yeah, it's his field of work too. He knows.
Yes, and he did have to give up throwing the ball, and it was kind of an epiphany for him as well. Like, wow, I didn't realize that when I was trying to wear her out, I was actually winding her up.
Yeah.
So he's had to change his behavior in that regard. But it's definitely, the change in the house has almost definitely come from how I interact with her. She has what we call the bionic paw because she's so strong. When she wants attention, she whacks you with the bionic paw, and it hurts.
Right.
And she doesn't do it anymore. I mean, she stopped doing it within the first 24 hours.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. This is really important because what we have to understand is the law in which dogs were created under is the law of hierarchy. And so if you're not fulfilling your position, it is in the dog's best interest to attain the higher position, to climb. And so your dog began to tell you what to do. And you obeyed.
I did.
So once they realize that, then they begin to climb as far as they can climb because that's in the nature. They are hardwired to do that. But the moment that you realized from listening to what I asked you to listen to, and you made that change, your dog says, this is what I've been searching for. This is what I need. And it didn't take you weeks or months. It took you hours.
It was literally hours. This weekend was so calm. It was peaceful, and it wasn't. Once I got past that mental exhaustion about, I was constantly having to think, all right, I don't need to do this, I need to do that. So, but by Monday, I'd say, it was like, okay, I got the rhythm of it. and I would sit down, and the dog doesn't whack me with her bionic paw.
That's
She
so
wants,
great.
she stares at me. She's still trying to figure out, I don't know what happened to the dynamic here, and I watch her watching me a lot.
And now your job, just like mine, is to work on your mother and others to help them to transition over into what we're calling now the Fouché way. You have now been Fouchéed.
Do I get a T-shirt with that?
Yeah, we're working on that. Well, our time is rolling, and I want to thank Marla, also our legal part. Once again, the number is 818-783-7660. If you have any legal questions or you need some help, she's there to help. She's part of the team. I'm so happy that she is there. And I want to thank Jefferson and all of our guests. And tune in next week, same time, same place, at the Fouché Way radio show. Thank you.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.